Did a National Weather Service meteorologist witness something otherworldly? On the night of March 8, 1994, Cindy Pravda is in her kitchen talking to her best friend over the phone. Suddenly, at 9 p.m., large orbs of light rise above the trees in her backyard and hover above the home. Pravda tells her friend, "I think I have UFOs in my backyard." Meanwhile, Jack Bouchon, a National Weather Service operator on duty in Muskegon, Michigan, receives a call from the local police department. They've been bombarded with frantic calls for the last hour. People from all over the county say they see lights in the sky, and the police want Jack to use his radar to confirm the sightings. It turns out, over 100 people reported witnessing the strange lights in the sky. Cindy Pravda, who lives in Grand Haven, shared her account with News Channel 3 in March of 2019, on the 25th anniversary of one of Michigan's most famous UFO sightings. Jack sweeps the sky with his equipment for a few moments, then spots something strange: metallic objects flying in formation over Lake Michigan. He watches as the objects dart through the sky, shifting speeds and altitudes faster than any known human aircraft could maneuver, or any human pilot could survive, for that matter. All Jack can offer the police is confirmation that he does see what people are reporting. After his call with the police, Jack continues to watch the objects until his shift ends. That night, there weren't any thunderstorms to track on radar, but rather something else. "You could pretty much use it like a spotlight," Bouchon said when describing the operation of the radar at the time. "I had 2 cranks to bring it up or down or side to side. You pretty much sent it out searching for weather. Any type of rain, sleet, snow, or hail is what we were usually looking for when we took it off of automatic mode." Bouchon recounts the object first appeared alone on radar returns. "It started as one," he said. "The object was coasting at about 100 miles per hour. He said as he was watching the object, it stopped and started hovering, and then it shot up about 5,000 feet, then 10,000 feet. I was getting it just straight up," Bouchon said. At this point, the police officer was saying that he was seeing the same thing with that same object. He then described seeing a triangle of objects on radar, oriented vertically, before they finally spread out in the horizontal. He said one of the objects would zip about 20 miles away before the others followed in a geometric pattern. "I either saw them hovering, or they were jumping at a high rate of speed over to the next spot. Then there were 2 other spots jumping to get back into the same triangle, and they kept doing this," Bouchon said. Their heights even topped off close to 60,000 feet at times, according to Bouchon. This, he said, disqualifies a theory some used to try and debunk his observations as ground clutter. Ground clutter, caused by a radar phenomenon known as anomalous propagation, occurs when radar beams bend down towards the surface of the Earth, echoing back returns from objects close to the ground. Bouchon said this continued to happen until the 3 and at times 4 objects made it over southern Lake Michigan, where Bouchon said he observed dozens more. For a total of about 2 hours, he saw a larger cluster of stationary objects with some slowly moving in between them. This coincidentally was an area of open water on Lake Michigan in a year where the lake was almost entirely covered in ice. Bouchon later called the FAA control tower at the Muskegon County Airport to see if they had observed anything. Bouchon said he spoke to an air traffic controller that had observed 3 aircraft in formation off in the distance, but didn't have any transponder code. Local Muskegon Chronicle reporter Michael Walsh, who was in the newsroom as the reports of lights poured in, decides to obtain a copy of the 911 calls from March 8th. Every call, including Jack's conversation with the police, is released to the media the following day. Overnight, the lights over Lake Michigan make global news, and Jack's call is the center of the story. If a National Weather Service operator saw something, it must be true. Reporters and paranormal investigators pour into town in the following days, ruthlessly tracking down as many 911 callers as they can identify. Holly Graves, whose dramatic 911 account was recorded and played on TV and radio all over the country, is identified quickly. Officer Jeff Velthouse, who reported to the Graves home that night, is tracked down in the police department's parking garage. Unbeknownst to them, they will spend the rest of their lives dodging journalists and researchers hungry for more details about their shared experience. In the days that follow the sightings back at the National Weather Service, Jack is pulled into his boss's office amid the flurry of press. He's given strict instructions not to publicly speculate on what he saw through his radar that night. Jack must remain silent about the incident as long as he works for the National Weather Service. A few months later, Jack is transferred to Georgia's National Weather Service office. Jack's reputation as a scientist is dragged through the mud for decades, unable to formally elaborate on what he saw on March 8th or how he saw it. Now, almost 30 years later, Jack is retired from the National Weather Service and finally free to share his entire story. He returns to Michigan to investigate the night that changed his life forever.